Title: Under the Summer Rain. Synopsis: in a small coastal town, two souls cross paths at the most unexpected moment. Emily, a shy and reserved young woman, works as a librarian in the Centro del Pueblo, while Jack, an extroverted and full of life man, returns after years of being away. A meeting in the rain will change their lives forever. And although at first it seems, in being polar opposites, both will find themselves challenged by their own fears, secrets, and the love that is blossoming between them. Development of the story: summer was at its peak when Emily Holloway looked out the library window. The heavy grey clouds covered the sky, and the wind blew strongly, causing the branches of the trees to sway. There was something unsettling in the weather, something that foreshadowed changes, but I didn't know what. In the coastal town where I lived, everything seemed to be in its place. Tourists filled the streets, the cafes were always full, and life continued its tranquil course. Emily enjoyed that tranquility, but also felt a strange sense of emptiness. She had grown up in that place, and although her family had been part of the town for generations, she had always felt like an outsider, someone who didn't quite belong. It was on that rainy day when, stepping out of the library, she saw a man standing by. He was the old town lamplighter. He had hair wet from the rain and a thoughtful, almost melancholic expression. When their eyes met, Emily felt a spark of recognition, although not there was where. But there was something about his presence that captivated her. Jack Miller, back in town after years of absence, was lost in his own thoughts. Life had given him unexpected things happened, and now, back in his hometown, he felt like a stranger in his own home. The rain, as a backdrop, seemed to symbolize his emotional state. He had moved away for a long time, but in the end, he always returned home. It was then that Emily saw him. She had heard stories of him, of how he had left for the city, of how he had become someone important in the business world. But that man in the rain didn't seem the same as the stories described. He looked vulnerable, lost, maybe even a little lonely. Something in his look had awakened something within her. "Do you mind if I join you?" Emily timidly asked, her voice almost lost in the sound of the rain. Jack looked at her, surprised at first, but then, he smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile, something he hadn't seen in years. "Of course," he replied. "It's a rainy afternoon, and it looks like we're both caught in the storm." They stayed under the streetlight. They chatted for a long time, talking about everything and nothing. At first, Emily was cautious, but soon the conversation became easy, as if they had known each other all their lives. Jack, although extroverted by nature, also seemed to find comfort in Emily's calmness and quietude. Without realizing it, time flew by. As the rain calmed down, Jack invited her to walk with him to the town square. Throughout that walk, both began to discover the small secrets that their lives had kept. Jack told him about his time outside the town, the challenges that Habai had faced, and how success had left him with a feeling of emptiness. Emily, for her part, shared her love of books, the loneliness she felt in her daily life, and how, sometimes, she longed for something would change. But there was something else that was beginning to grow between them. Something that neither of them expected. A deep and real connection. As if the rain had united them in a way that they couldn't to explain. The unexpected twist. The days passed, and Emily and Jack began to see each other more often. However, it wasn't all that easy. Although they were attracted to each other, both kept ethos that kept them at a distance. Jack had returned to the town to close a chapter of his life. He had pending business, and he wasn't sure if he could stay. His world was full of obel, investigations, and love seemed to be a distraction that he could not afford. Emily, on the other hand, did not know if she was ready to open her heart again. She had been hurt in the past, and although Jack had attracted her, the fear of losing something so beautiful paralyzed her. It was one afternoon, when the rain fell heavily again, that Emily decided to face her fears. She went to look for Jack at the Café Cal, where he always spent the afternoon. The rain seemed to be the perfect backdrop for the confession he needed to make. "Jack," he said, his voice trembling, "I know things aren't always easy, and maybe this is just an illusion, but I don't want to keep living in fear. I don't want to be left with what could have been. I want to take a risk. I want to live." Jack looked at her, his eyes shining, and with a mixture of sadness and hope. Emily, I have been running away for so long from what I really want. But I can't keep running. I think what we are building here, in the middle of this rain, it's real, and I want to be a part of that. That night, under the summer rain, the two decided to take the step. They didn't know what the future held, but they did know that they couldn't live with the regret for not trying. The end. Years later, Emily and Jack walked hand in hand through the same coastal town, under the summer rain, remembering the day everything changed. Life was not easy, but together they had learned to face it. The secrets that once separated them no longer mattered, and the love that had been born under the storm was now a force that united them forever. The town never changed much, but for Emily and Jack, every day under the rain was an opportunity to remember what they had found on that rainy day: love.